And I just closed my eyes and I said, God, please.
Shaquille O'Neal is the most dominant force I have ever seen.
In your era, what was it like having to guard a guy like Shaq?
If you want the cleanest case for the most physically overpowering player the NBA has ever seen, start with Shaq in 2000 and stay there for a minute.
Shaquille O'Neal, to be as big as he is and carry that load, Shaq has some impeccable footwork.
Agile, mobile, and starting to become hostile.
Footwork, jump shots, power.
People always rush to the full career debate. Jordan, Kareem, Wilt, all fair, all-time guys. I'm talking about something a little narrower here. I'm talking about the point where one player felt like a rules problem, a geometry problem, a nightly emergency meeting for the other team. That was Shaq in 1999-2000. He was 27, right at the middle of that sweet spot where the body is still ridiculous and the brain has caught up to it. The Lakers won 67 games. He played 79 of them and averaged 29.7 points, 13.6 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 3 blocks in 40 minutes a night. He shot 57.4% from the field and did it almost entirely around the rim. No threes, no fake spacing tricks, no pretending to be something else. Just deep catches, power moves, drop steps, dunks, jump hooks, putbacks, and a whole lot of grown men realizing a second too late that they were in the wrong spot. Then you remember he led the league in scoring and field goal percentage in the same season. He finished second in rebounds. He was near the top in blocks. That combination almost does not happen, especially in the modern era, and definitely not on a team steamrolling the league. Quick pause. Those who are not subscribers, subscribe and tell me which season you want next, because these peak player deep dives are better when the suggestions get weird. A huge part of it was the feeling. You watch the tape and it does not look like one star beating another star with finesse and timing and cute counters. It looks like one massive person deciding where the game is going to be played. He catches the ball 2 feet too close to the basket, and the possession is basically over. Send one defender, and he scores. Send two, and he still might score. Send three, and somebody else is open, assuming the pass gets out in time. Nobody left the arena saying, "Wow, I never saw that coming." They saw it. They wrote it on the board, they showed it on film, then Shaq still got to his spot. That is the part that pushes this season into different territory for me. Dominance is not only about having huge numbers, it is about reducing preparation to decoration. The other team does the homework and still fails the test. The Lakers were not some cute upstart either. They were a machine. They finished 67-15, 12 games clear of the next best team in the West. They ripped off a 19-game winning streak. They had another 16-game streak. They looked like the best team in basketball for long stretches. And they looked that way because the biggest advantage in the sport started every night on their side. Kobe was turning into Kobe, and that matters. He made all NBA second team and all defensive first team. He averaged 22.5 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 4.9 assists. He was already a serious star. Even so, nobody watching that season honestly thought the pecking order was complicated. This was Shaq's team. The whole identity of the Lakers started with the big man in the middle and spread outward from there. The MVP voting shows how obvious it felt in real time. Shaq got 120 of 121 first-place votes. Jerry West more or less laughed at that. Shaq had the best player, best team, best production profile, and strongest eye test in the league. There are MVP races where people still argue 20 years later. This one most likely ended before the ballots were printed. He shared All-Star Game MVP with Tim Duncan. He won regular season MVP. He won Finals MVP. He won the title. That full sweep has only happened for a tiny handful of players. Willis Reed did it. Michael Jordan did it. Shaq did it. That is the room he walked into. His PER was 30.6. He had 18.6 win shares. He led the league in offensive win shares and defensive win shares in the same season. That is the kind of line that makes you stop and reread it, because one side usually trails the other, even for all-time players. Shaq was crushing your defense on one end and cleaning up your mistakes on the other. Shaq shot 52.4% from the line that year. Bad enough that teams made foul him on purpose into a named defensive strategy. That says a lot on its own. Defenses were so short on answers that they turned to vandalism. They were willing to make games ugly, slow, and almost stupid just to push him away from his most efficient shots. Think about the admission inside that tactic. We cannot guard this guy within normal basketball, so we're gonna drag him to the foul line over and over and hope math does something. That is not the language of control. That is panic wearing a tie. And even then, the strategy usually did not save people. The larger playoff numbers from his prime show that his team still did extremely well in games where he took a ton of free throws. Even when he missed a bunch, the pressure he created at the rim, the foul trouble he generated, the body blows he handed out to opposing centers, all of that kept adding up. So his biggest flaw still sat inside the argument for his dominance. Across 23 playoff games, Shaq averaged 30.7 points, 15.4 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 2.4 blocks. That was the whole run, not one hot series. Sacramento, Phoenix, Portland, Indiana. Different front courts, different styles, same basic result. The Portland series says plenty about him. That team was big, deep, physical, and loaded with smart defenders. Arvydas Sabonis, Rasheed Wallace, Scottie Pippen, Brian Grant, a bunch of grown men who had no problem making the game nasty. They still ended up reaching for the same ugly solution everyone else found. Foul them, hold them, lean on them. Hope the whistle, the clock, and the chaos do enough. Portland nearly stole the series, then Game 7 happened. The Lakers came back from 15 down in the fourth quarter. Kobe threw the lob, Shaq caught it and hammered it through, and that play still lives forever because it captures the season in one snap.
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to Shaq!
Pressure, noise, panic, bodies everywhere, and somehow the largest player on the floor still ends up above the rim finishing the play. Then came the finals, where the whole thing tipped from best player in the world into this is getting ridiculous. Against Indiana, Shaq averaged 38 points, 16.7 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks while shooting 61.1% from the field. 38 and almost 17. Game 1, 43 points, 19 rebounds. Game 2, 40 points and 24 rebounds. Game 4, 36 points and 21 rebounds in an overtime road win. Game 6, 41 points, 12 rebounds, 4 blocks, 47 minutes, title clinched. That series looked like a team with decent size trying every reasonable idea and then a few unreasonable ones. Rick Smits was 7'4". Dale Davis was tough. Austin Crozier was strong and willing. These were not tiny lineups getting bullied for lack of personnel. They had real NBA size. Shaq still played through them like he was late for something.
Not only hits the basket, but as you were saying, Doug, once he's in that...
Quotes from Indiana after the fact tell the story better than any spreadsheet can. That is why 2000 Shaq lands differently from a lot of other dominant seasons. The damage looked physical in a way basketball almost never does. Great scorers usually hurt you with separation, rhythm, touch, timing, or impossible shot making. Shaq could do some of that too, especially with the soft jump hook and the improvised passing reads, though the defining thing was force. He pushed the defense backward, and once that happened, the possession belonged to him. If you want one regular season snapshot that captures the mood, the birthday game against the Clippers is the easy choice. March 6th, 2000. He turns 28 and drops 61 points with 23 rebounds, 24 for 35 from the field. Mild personal annoyance turned into a homicide scene in the paint. That game matters because it feels honest.
birthday on top of it. Think of that, ladies and gentlemen.
Nobody watched it and thought, well, that was a fluky heater. It felt like an extreme version of what he was doing all year anyway. He was also better than people remember as a passer during this stretch. The 3.8 assists were a career high at that point. Phil Jackson leaned into using him as a hub from the post, and Shaq responded. If doubles came early, he could move the ball. If they came late, it was often already over. That made the old just send another guy solution less reliable than it sounds when people explain it after the fact. What do people mean when they call 2000 Shaq the most dominant player ever? I do not think they mean best full career. That argument gets crowded fast. I do not think they mean most complete or most skilled in every area. They mean the version of a player that gave opponents the fewest sane options. The one that made high-level professionals look like they were trying to solve a problem with the wrong tools. In that lane, 2000 Shaq has maybe the cleanest argument there is. He had the production, he had the advanced metrics, he had the wins, he had the MVP, he had the title, he had the finals destruction, he had the tactical panic, he had the myth-making games, he had other stars and coaches basically admitting they had run out of clean answers. You don't have to pick him first if somebody gives you peak Jordan, peak LeBron, peak Kareem, peak Wilt, and says choose one season. Reasonable people can take different guys there. Still, if someone picks 2000 Shaq, I completely understand it. You're betting on the one player who made the league feel small. And if your only job is to win one season, one playoff run, one finals, I would at least like to know why you're so comfortable betting against the biggest problem the NBA has ever had to deal with. If you enjoyed watching this, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell, and be on the lookout for our next story that lives off the stat sheet.